Victober. Yay! It's the most wonderful time of the year. uh, Actually, this October has started out very busy for me. So, with nothing bad. You saw in the montage at the beginning that I took a trip recently, which I will talk about. And it was just like a little overnight type of trip. Yeah, we left on October 1st and we came back on October 2nd. And then my mom's birthday was on Friday. And so, yeah, it was just like lots of stuff going on in the first week. So vlogging was a little bit like I wasn't sure if I was going to get to do it. But I guess we'll call this a vlog because I put a little montage at the beginning, right? And I will say that I got very on our way on our trip down to, well, okay, let me back up. So, where did we go? We went to West Virginia, where we took a scenic train ride through the mountains, and it was about a 3 hour. Well, it should have been 3 hours. It ended up being about four, but I will talk about that. Um, we in the scenic train ride is called the Potomac Eagle, and it was really lovely. It's a vintage train, and they have multiple dining cars. They have a couple cars that are just for people that just want to go and look at the scenery, but don't want a dinner. But we got a dinner, and it was really great. We got like three or four choices of a main course, and then dessert was chef's choice, which that's always a little bit like, okay, we don't get to pick what we're eating for dessert, but it was okay. It was fine. um, and and I mean it's dessert, so I mean, how bad could it be? um, and It was just like a nice, slow, meandering little journey through. We rode along the Potomac River and got to see all the scenery there. um, and our waitress was very lovely. She was fun. She's a little like sarcastic, which is fine by me. Like not sarcastic, I shouldn't say that, but she was just funny, I guess. She was just like not like her. She was like bantering. That's the word I'm looking for. Bantering with some of the guests and stuff. So it was fun. Only slight issue that we had that really only affected us in that it took us a little longer to get through the whole thing was there was some debris. Well, it started out, there was some debris on the track that they had to stop us for a little bit to get cleaned up. And we figured, that won't take super long. They're used to cleaning up this debris, whatever. So we just kept sitting there and sitting there, and we were eating during this time, so it wasn't any big deal. But we just, for a while, we were like, what the heck's going on? Like this must be like a really big, big tree or something that's down on the track. Well, then they get on the announcements and say that there's a medical emergency on the train, and we had to back up a little bit and to like a crossing where we like over an actual road where we could meet an ambulance to get somebody off the train who was having some kind of an event. So we never, found out anything about that or whatever. Obviously they can't really talk about that and everything, but hopefully the person is okay. And we didn't care that we were like delayed. The only part that really affected is we were planning to drive back home that same night, and we were kind of hoping that we wouldn't be driving back in the dark, but we did kind of end up driving home in the dark some ways, but it's fine. We made it, so it's fine. But that was really the only hiccup. But the only other thing I would probably have changed was if we did it again, I would probably want to go a little later in October because the leaves hadn't really changed. Uh, a little bit here and there, but nothing, significant that made it, look like extra autumnal. Oh, but I was going to say that on our way down, it was very foggy and very like the mist was coming over the mountains, and I just thought this is just perfect Victober weather. It was just very well going down. It was kind of raining at first, so I mean, my dad probably didn't like that because he was the one driving, but but I was sitting in the back with my book and just looking out at the scenery and the mist coming off the mountains, thinking, happy Victober to me. Oh man. So it was a lovely trip. And I would do it again and I would highly recommend. But let's talk about what I have been reading this first week of Victober. So, the thing that I have been spending most of my time reading for the first week is my reread of Jane Eyre with my friend Joe. We are buddy reading this together. We actually started this a couple of days before Victober started. So, we at this point, well, actually, she just messaged me this morning and we are about 60% of the way through already, which is awesome. I am kind of alternating reading this physically out of this copy. And see, I'm trying to tab some of my favorite parts or just like famous parts that I want to be able to flip to easily. But a lot of the time on my trip, I ended up having to listen to audiobook for it just for ease. And because I like to cross stitch a lot, physically reading cuts into my time for cross stitch. So I have been alternating between physically reading and audiobook depending on my mood. So, which I kind of was worried about that because a lot of times when I start out reading physically and then I switch to an audiobook and I think, oh, I'll just go back and forth, blah, blah, blah. I just always end up sticking with the audiobook once I've started. So, so I'm going to have to like make myself read out of this because I'm getting a lot more out of it when I actually physically read, which I feel like is the way with me and Victorian literature, even though I end up doing audiobook for a lot of Victorian literature. But Jane Eyre, how is it holding up to a reread? It's wonderful. I would say that this is a really good place to start with Victorian literature. I think the language is really easy to digest. Um, there's a lot going on, which could be a little daunting, I guess, but it's not like a super, I mean, it's long. I guess that's all relative, but it's not super duper long. There's not like a huge amount of main characters or anything, which also is something that kind of happens in Victorian literature a lot, is there's just like tons of characters that you have to keep track of. This one doesn't really seem to have that. It goes through Jane Eyre's life from the time she was a little girl to adulthood. So you kind of like there are like sections basically. So like you go from this one event and then those characters kind of go away. And then you go to another section and then those characters kind of go away. So I mean they might be referenced later, but they're not, you don't have a constant flow of new characters that you have to like add to already existing characters. You know what I mean? So I think Jane Eyre is a good place to start, which is probably why uh, professors and English teachers and things tend to use this as a Victorian literature book that they require. Um, which, hey, that might sour some people to it, but I think there is a reason that they choose this one because it is pretty accessible, I think. And I'm really I'm seeing Mr. Rochester in a, I wouldn't say a better light necessarily, but I don't see him as awful as some other people see him. Um, yeah, I'm just like I have a little bit more. Um, I don't know. Not sympathy is not the right word, but I don't know. Just I wish he would be more honest with people. That is my that's my main beef with him. But I'm trying not to be spoilery. But he does seem to hold a lot of things back from people that he shouldn't. So that's all I'll say. But in general, I like him for the most part. So that's the one thing that I'm realizing for my reread that I have a little better opinion of Mr. Rochester than I had in a previous reads. Then the other book that I have been slowly listening to on audiobook for actually a few months now has been Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. And see what I mean by Jane Eyre was not that long. Like, compare the two. um, this one is a behemoth. And actually, it took me two tries really to get into this. I started reading this with my friend Alicia last year, I think, and I think well, it was the audiobook narrator that I had at the time just was bad, and I couldn't follow what was happening. So I found a better audiobook, and I have really been enjoying it now. We were able to get through. There's two parts to this novel, and we were able to get through part one prior to the start of October. So now we are trying to get through part two. My stretch goal, my goal is going to be to actually finish the whole thing in October. I'm trying to find. Let's see. Oh, I thought there was more. I thought it gave a breakdown. Yeah, it's probably in here somewhere. But I was gonna see how many chapters there were in part two. But I'm on chapter 6, I believe, of part two. And this I'm not gonna give any spoilers at all, but it hasn't gone where I thought it was gonna go. Uh, I I didn't really have an idea of where it was gonna go, but I didn't think the things that are currently happening are anything that was actually going to happen. So, and I will say that Charles Dickens, he is one that has a ton of characters that you maybe only will hear from for like a couple of pages, maybe a chapter, and then you don't hear from them again for decades, it seems like. But then all of a sudden, they show up again and they have a reason for being there. And you're like, huh, well, Dickens, look at you. You didn't forget about those characters. You tied that in. Okay, great. So I will say he is a master with that. Um, yeah, because at the very beginning of this book, I was like, what does this have to do with anything? I don't understand. We're not even, where are we? What is happening? And then, but now I see. I still don't actually see with a couple of the characters like what their reasoning is for being back, but they have come back. So I'm sure I will see later why they're there. But anyway, I'm really enjoying this now. I just need to stay consistent with. I'm going to try. I think about a chapter a day, listening to it, and that hasn't always gone well already in October. But now that I'm home and I'm kind of back in my groove, hopefully that'll work. And then also, I started reading Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I am listening to this on audiobook. It's only about a 6.5 hour audiobook. I mean, it was written for children, although lots of stuff happens that I'm like, kids today couldn't handle this. I don't know. Maybe they could. I don't know. I don't have kids. Maybe I couldn't handle this, some of this stuff back then. But anyway, um, it's been a very enjoyable audiobook. I listened to it a lot last night. I did some sprints with my friend Joe, and I listened to this exclusively for the evening. And I got to the point that I was like, okay, I have had my fill of pirate voices for the night. I need to put this away. But there is some lovely, let's see, in this book I got from the library. Oh, that's not a nice one. That is, somebody is going to die in that one. Oh, that one too. Oh, jeez. Oh, there's lots of death. I mean, it's a pirate book, so I guess, you know. Oh, okay, here we go. See? That is a pirate ship if ever I saw one. And a man with one leg. So, yeah. So I like having, even though I'm listening to the audiobook, I like having a physical copy so I can look at the illustrations. So that one, I actually think that I might be able to finish it today because I think I only had like maybe 2 hours left. So I might do that today while I'm stitching and just try to finish it up. And then this will be my first completed Victober read. Yay! Because I actually think I'm going to, this one, ooh, I should say, this one is the group read for Kate Howell's Patreon. And they're having a discussion about it at the end of the month. Currently, though, I'm going to have to miss that discussion, which saddens me to no end. But I still want to read it so that I can maybe like comment on the replay of the video that we will get later on and that I will watch if I end up not being able to be there. So I got a copy of Charlie's Aunt by Brandon Thomas. This is, as it says, a play. And I am going to be doing a play reading with Kate Howell's Patreon on October 19th. And I am, well, apparently I am playing the aunt. That's what somebody told me. Or, I don't know. I thought I was playing the aunt, but somebody's like, maybe. I don't know. So there's apparently things that are going to happen in this that I don't understand yet. I'm only a few pages into it, but it's a play, so it should go quick. I just have to like actually sit down and read it and then highlight my lines so I don't sound like a fool. So yeah, I'm excited to be doing another play reading with Kate Howell and her Patreon because those are always a good time. We always are ridiculous when we do these plays. This one is kind of giving me Oscar Wilde, his kind of style vibes. It's not as witty so far as Oscar Wilde. I much prefer Oscar Wilde, but okay, it is what it is. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not too far into it, so I'm not going to judge it yet. Then the last thing that I started reading the other day is Honest Faith by Charles Spurgeon. Charles Spurgeon was a Victorian era pastor, I believe a Baptist pastor, and he has so many sermons that people use in commentaries and, compiling devotionals and things like that of different things that Spurgeon has has written about and spoken about. So yeah, I am reading this with Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia and Dia from Novel Idea and Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library. They are doing a read along of it, and they just had their first meeting yesterday, the first discussion, and I read it in time for that, and then I signed on to their live stream and I said hi, and then got pulled away and didn't get to watch the rest of it. So I'm going to have to rewatch that at some point today, hopefully, so that I can at least like stay current with the discussions because I want to try to be involved in the discussions. So anyway, that's a lot of things for the first week of Victober. I would like to, like I said, I would like to try to finish Treasure Island today. Maybe even finish Charlie's aunt, aunt, aunt. I usually say aunt, but then I feel like it sounds weird. So anyway, I want to try to maybe finish that because I think I might be starting a impromptu buddy read of Dr. Wortle's School with my friend Amy next week sometime. I have to touch base with her, but I think we might be doing that. So, all the things are happening. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the little montage at the beginning of this vlog, and I will see you for my next video. Hopefully next week. I don't know if it'll be a vlog. We'll see. I don't know how much I got going on that I can tape, but we'll see. So, all right, friends. Happy Victober. Bye.